So this kind of builds on the layering lost focus thing of just I'm losing clarity on my track, and as a result I'm just gonna stack 7 or 8 leads, and I mean it, make it as wide and epic and loud and dense as I can because I don't know what the hell else to do, as opposed to just having a quality preset that just sounds good, or maybe only layering like 2 or 3 quality presets as opposed to like 7 meh kind of ones. Um, Listen to the Police. I think everybody probably on this earth has heard Message in a Bottle by the Police. Similarly, listen to the classic Bruno Mars tune that came out. It's called Locked Out of Heaven. When that first came out, my mind immediately went to the Police. I was like, whoever produced this um, totally captured a new school vibe version of the Police. The reason why I'm talking about Bruno Mars and the Police is because, in my opinion, there's a production style there, especially in the era of the Police, um, that was minimal. Um, and I like that, and I've adopted that into my EDM dance music, dance track sound. And what that kind of is just let the instruments be what they are. Let a sawtooth wave be a sawtooth wave. Let a steel drum be a steel drum. And in the thought of the Police, then let a guitar be a guitar. A clean guitar sounds like a clean guitar. It is what it is. Let a bass line be a bass line. You don't need to stack 4 layers of basses. Just let it be what it is. Um, and sometimes, depending on the production style that you're going for, you can't always do that. But at the same time, I think that even if you're not going for that production style of like minimal and clean, and you can't always go for that, you also don't have to take it to the other extreme of like, a multi-mega session that's maxing out your CPU. I think that if you can't find your sound in a moderate and reasonable way, something more is wrong. And I don't feel that you need to just have such large sessions that you're throwing so much at the wall that you're losing focus and just not clear anymore on what you're doing. You love all kinds of sounds and they all sound good, so you're stacking them all up. That's not really, I think, healthy or good. And it doesn't really help you become a great producer because you're no longer making decisions on what to keep and what not to keep. You're just like, oh, this preset sounds good. I'll blend that in. Oh, that preset sounds good too. I'll pan that to the left. Oh, and this one sounds good too. I'll make that the wide one. Oh, and this one sounds good. I'll mono that and send that down the middle. Just you're losing focus. You're like a kid in a candy store grabbing a handful of everything and slamming it together. And it kind of goes back to our example of like sushi pizza. Let sushi be sushi. Let pizza be pizza. Stop throwing it all together. Let the Police be the Police. Let that Bruno Mars track breathe and sound like the Police, which in my opinion was through a minimal production style and also capturing the sound of that era, of course. But let instruments be what they are. You don't have to be everything to everyone. And I think that a lot of times that mentality of like stack it up, stack it up, stack it up hurts people. So if you want to hear some really good rock music that's arguably more diverse than other rock music that is, in my opinion, to my ear, created with much larger sessions, listen to the Police. What they did as a 3-piece, now I'm sure there's layers to a degree, and there's some recording magic in there, but what the Police did as a 3-piece, mixing rock and reggae, is, in my opinion, 10 times more diverse than what other bands did just making basic rock music, but having a recording session or a project, if you were to look at it, that's way, way bigger, way, way more outlandish, and isn't nearly as impactful. I see that a lot with producers. They're not all that diverse, but their sessions are completely outlandish, completely ridiculous, completely insane. They're gigantic. There's just track after track after track after track after track, and it's like, it's kind of a shame because for as much work and as much layering as you put into this, it just sounds average and it doesn't sound all that original. I'd rather someone come up to me with a track that was made with 15 different tracks or instruments, kick, clap, snare, bass line, lead line, vocal, couple of effects thrown in there and cymbals, couple of loops, and that's it, and have it actually be diverse and impactful, like in our Police example, rock reggae, rather than just like, well, this is big room or this is future bass, and it's a gigantic session and it's not all that impactful. It sounds like everybody else, and it sounds maybe good. Even worse if it doesn't sound good because you've layered so much. Why doesn't this sound great? And I know why. It's because they've lost focus. So all they do now is just stack up, stack up, stack up because they don't know what the hell else to do. And to me, that's going about it the wrong way. So listen to the Police or even my music to get an idea of like how you can create great, impactful tracks that people like without overdoing it. And I mean, that gives me my life back. That gives me my time back. It's not that I don't love being in the studio. I do. But I also don't want to sit here because sitting is unhealthy for hours on end. And that may be funny to some of you, but like it isn't funny after 10 years of doing it when you realize, man, I'm kind of getting a little bit of a gut here. Um, and what did I do? I'm getting a gut to agonize over this kick drum or that kick drum. Just pick one and go. Just go. Get it done. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. So I like having a life. I like studio life, but I also like DJing, and I also like going outside and enjoying my life before I die. So look at people like the Police. Look at that Bruno Mars tune, Locked Out of Heaven. Look to my tracks. All of them, in my opinion, or at least I can say for me, because I know my own sessions, and from what I can hear from like Bruno and the Police, they're minimal. They're not overthought. It's just good, clean recordings. Every single part is strong, so it's better to have 10 really strong parts than 100 mediocre parts that you had to stack up. I never stack kick drums, never. Everyone's like, add a hi-hat to it to have it cut through the mix. I just don't need to do that because my mix isn't cluttered with a ton of stuff to the point where it's like, oh man, I lost my kick. How are you losing your kick in your sessions? Well, I know how. You have so many layers that you've lost control of your session, and now you need to add a hi-hat to your kick for it to cut through the mix. To me, that's just, for the most part, depends on the style, but for the most part, it's incorrect. So go back, think about your perspective with all of this, and think about what it means to you.